Well, let's take a look in Chapter 2 at a concept that we talked about in Chapter 1. That's creating a nourishing classroom culture. School schedules and teaching strategies need to fit children's natural rhythms rather than trying and failing to force them into an artificially adult world which mimics our fast-paced, hard-driving business culture. We need to stop hurrying children. Our school days require time to wonder, time to pause, time to look closely, time to share, time to pay attention to what is most important. And this is from Chip Wood. And you'll find this quote in the beginning of Chapter 2 as well. So the classroom culture includes the rules, the spaces, and schedules. And these rules, spaces, and schedules set the tone and atmosphere of the classroom, and it also reflects who the teacher is. So how do you want to interact with children in your classroom culture, as a learner with the children or a regulator of the children? Do the children form strong relationships with the adults in the classroom, or are they moved from classroom to classroom in the morning or in the afternoon or from year to year? Is there continuity and consistency? Do the children feel comfortable with making choices, or are they expected to always comply with adult direction and to recite information adults have told them? Does the classroom culture meet developmental needs? Let's talk about a developmental theory that focuses on the developmental needs of children. Erik Erikson created what he calls a psychosocial theory, and it's called social because the emphasis is on the social influences on development of the self and personality, which would be the psycho aspect of it. And for early childhood, Erikson has 3 stages. Each of these stages have a crisis or conflict that needs to be resolved, and he describes how those might be resolved in a positive way and how they might be resolved in a negative way if the social influences don't provide what a child needs. The first stage is from birth to age 1, and the positive outcome that's needed is trust. And if the trust is not developed through the social influences, then it ends up for the child as mistrust. And we can help a child trust by consistently being responsive to their developmental needs. Ages 1 to 3, in this stage, the positive outcome is autonomy. And the negative outcome is shame and doubt. So the social influences here would be providing opportunities for children to do things on their own, to make their own choices, explore and discover. If adults always do things for them and they never get to choose, they don't develop self-confidence. And then the third stage is the positive outcome is initiative, and the negative outcome is guilt. And this is from ages 3 to 6. And here, preschoolers, ages 3, 4, and 5 in particular, love to come up with plans, develop plans, and carry out plans. But the issue is that they don't, since they're focused more on themselves, they don't think about how those plans will influence others. And so as adults, we need to make sure that we respect their need to develop and carry out plans, and then facilitate and support them towards thinking about how those plans influence others, rather than making them feel guilty about the outcomes of their plans. So keeping in mind those positive outcomes, let's take a look at the 13 principles of a nourishing classroom culture. The first principle is to welcome families by listening and communicating in sensitive ways. And we can communicate in sensitive ways by documenting meaningful memories that happen as we go throughout our day with traditions and rituals that we might carry out every day. We also want to include families by hosting family gatherings. We want to make sure that we honor each family's uniqueness, and we want to invest in relationships with the whole family, and then keep children connected to their families and support children's attachment to their families, along with forming attachments with us. So let's take a look at attachment theory. And this comes from Bowlby. And he says that the outcome that we want to form in regards to attachment is secure attachments. And we can tell a child is securely attached if they cry when their attachment figure leaves, but they adjust when given time to being under the care of others. And when the first attachment figure returns, they warmly accept them, and they use caregivers or attachment figures as a secure base to explore. When we talk about insecure attachments then, these are attachments where the child really isn't sure about the trustworthiness of an adult, and they haven't had consistent relationships with them that are positive. So with insecure avoidant attachments, after a child is separated from a caregiver, when the caregiver returns, they avoid contact with them, and they ignore attempts of the caregiver to initiate interactions with them. With insecure resistant attachments, the child actually resists contact after being left and the caregiver returns. They may hit, kick, bite, and fall to the ground, and they're not comforted by the caregiver's presence, and they're less likely to explore and just become worried about whether their attachment figure will return. The last category is disorganized. With a disorganized insecure attachment, there are inconsistent patterns that may indicate abuse, sometimes showing an avoidant insecure attachment or a resistant one. And so what we want to do is make sure that we develop secure attachments with the children in our classroom, and then facilitate and support family members in forming this secure attachment. So then, moving on with the principles of nourishing classroom environment, we want to gather families for exploration experiences when we have family gatherings. We want to model the information that parents need to know by taking opportunities to interact with a child while parents watch, because really that's the best way they learn effective techniques. Give parents opportunities to explore and discover themselves. So at family gatherings, provide materials for the children to create, but also encourage and facilitate parents in creating as well. Focus on relationships and not rules. Look at the classroom through the eyes of the children. Share their excitement and their curiosity about what happens in the classroom. And take a look at page 27 to get more detail on this. Make sure that children see themselves as emotionally strong and as problem solvers, so that they'll be able to feel a sense of autonomy, as Erickson would talk about, and be able to take initiative. Make sure you arrange space and routines to promote community and collaboration. So include the children in ways that interest them, and have them carry out things that they want to do. And you can see some examples of that on pages 28 through 30 in your textbook. Give the children ownership of routines and schedules. Have them help establish those routines and schedules, and have them make important decisions that might occur or come up in regards to those things. Use children's ideas to pursue investigation. Respect their time needs. Respect the children's interest in everyday experiences like rain and the garbage truck, and follow those interests. Facilitate their investigations. Don't just provide what you know about what they're interested in, but let them find out, explore, and discover themselves. Provide provocations for investigation, such as questions to stimulate an action of investigation. Help children see themselves as learners, thinkers, inventors, collaborators, responsible citizens, and friends. Promote curiosity, investigation, experimentation, and forming hypotheses. Coach children to develop negotiation and collaboration skills. So have them figure out what's the best way to solve, for example, a conflict over a particular toy. Develop rituals that create memories. This is something that we already talked about, such as planting seeds. You can find that story on page 50. Also, think about the high scope educational philosophy, where you plan your learning, you carry that plan out, and then you review the outcome. And really celebrate real accomplishments, like creating goodbye books when a child leaves a program, or creating transition bridges.